In the vast expanse of the Wild West, where the wind swayed golden grasses and sunsets were purple, there lived a legend of an unusual horse. His name was Stormy Mustang. It was said that he was as fast as lightning and his mane fluttered like storm clouds. No one could catch Storm Mustang. He appeared only when heavy clouds gathered over the land, and his silhouette glided across the prairie with the roar of thunder. In the small town of Raindust lived a boy named Tommy. His father, a former cowboy, often told his son around the campfire, "Remember, son, Stormy Mustang is not just a horse, he's the spirit of freedom, and only those with a pure heart will let him find him." Tommy dreamed of seeing Mustang, and one day, when a particularly dark storm came over the prairie, the boy made up his mind. He saddled his pony and rode to Rocky Ridge, where the stories said Storm Mustang's last trail led. Thunder rumbled and the wind beat in his face, but Tommy kept on. Suddenly, through the rain, he saw him a horse as black as night with a silver stripe along his back. Stormy Mustang stood on the top of a hill and looked straight at him. And then everything around him frowned. The wind stopped, the rain stopped, just Tommy and Mustang, eye to eye. Tommy stood, breathless, looking at Stormy Mustang, whose mane fluttered like storm clouds. The horse looked straight at the boy, and at that moment everything around him frowned. The wind died, the rain stopped, and only the loud beating of Tommy's heart broke the silence. The Mustang snorted and turned and disappeared over the hill. Tommy, without thinking, followed him. He ran, stumbling over rocks and slipping on wet grass, but he did not stop. Suddenly a valley opened up before him, where the sky was covered with dark clouds and Storm Mustang stood in the center. "You have come," came a voice in Tommy's head, "but to go on, you must pass the thunder test." At the same instant, the sky lit up with lightning, and a loud clap of thunder shook the ground. Tommy felt the ground shake beneath his feet, but he didn't back down. He remembered his father's words, "A heart full of courage can tame even a storm." The Mustang came closer, and their gazes met. At that moment, the thunder died down and the clouds began to part. The horse tilted his head, acknowledging the boy's courage. "You have proven your courage," the voice said again, "but there's one more test ahead of you. The test of the wind." As the last rumble of thunder died down over the prairie, Storm Mustang reappeared before Tommy. His eyes glittered as if reflecting the light of the stars, and a strange wind rose around him, whispering voices. "The next test is the wind," came that voice, as if born from the air itself. "Only those who know how to listen will find the way." Tommy felt a whirlwind envelop him. A wall of dust rose up, hiding the Mustang. Down scenes of past scattered in front of the boy, none of them fully visible. He closed his eyes, listened. The whispering wind told stories of cowboys, of lost caravans, of dreams that come true only for the most resilient. And then Tommy realized, you don't have to look, you have to feel the path. He took a step, then another, following where the wind was warm, soft, as if calling him forward. A few minutes passed, or maybe an eternity, and suddenly Storm Mustang appeared in front of him again. This time the horse knelt down in front of him, inviting him to climb on his back. Tommy cautiously walked over and sat on the Mustang. As soon as he touched the mane, a whirlwind of light and wind swirled around them, and they soared upward, above the clouds, to where true freedom begins. The Storm Mustang carried Tommy higher and higher. Below them were prairies, mountains, rivers, and towns. Everything seemed tiny, as if in a fairy tale. The wind sang in his ears, but Tommy held on tight, feeling a confidence he hadn't had before. They flew through silvery clouds, illuminated by the moon, and found themselves in a place where the earth merged with the sky. There were islands of glowing stones hanging in the air, and rivers of starlight flowed between them. "You have passed the test," Mustang's voice came through, as if it were not just a horse but an ancient spirit. "Now you must make a choice." Two roads appeared before Tommy. One road led back to the familiar world, where his family, friends, and hometown were waiting for him. The other led forward to the world of adventure, where he would live among legends, under the whistling winds and the thunder of rumbling skies. Tommy thought for a moment. He remembered his father's stories around the campfire, his dream of seeing a real miracle, but he also remembered his warm home and his mother's caring eyes. "I'll choose to go back," Tommy said quietly, "but I will never forget you, Storm Mustang." Mustang bowed his head in respect. They began to descend slowly, the wind bidding Tommy a warm farewell, wrapping around him like a cloak. Tommy found himself back on his native prairie. The wind moved the golden grass gently, as if to welcome him. Stormy Mustang was no longer visible, but a glowing streak in the sky that looked like a road of clouds. The boy returned to the town of rain dust, where he was greeted by the surprised eyes of his friends and family. He kept quiet about his adventure, because he realized that not everything needed to be told in words. But something had changed. When Tommy went out into the hills, the wind always whispered softly in his ear. In his most difficult moments, he felt the strength of Stormy Mustang, the spirit of freedom and courage, at his side. And one day, on the very first day of spring, when the prairie was again covered with flowers, Tommy saw a black figure on the horizon, a Mustang with a silver streak. They looked at each other in a silence full of mutual understanding. And Tommy realized, true miracles stay with those who believe in them with all their heart. Several years passed. Tommy grew up. He was a young man now, as agile and brave as he had once dreamed, but the memory of Stormy Mustang, and the night he first rode above the clouds always lingered in his heart. One day, when the heavy clouds were again gathering over the prairie, Tommy felt a strange uneasiness. The wind carried scraps of a whisper familiar to him from his childhood. The time has come. A new path is calling. Without a moment's hesitation, he saddled his trusty steed and rode to the place where he had first met Storm Mustang, the rocky ridge. At the summit, Tommy saw an amazing sight. In the stormy sky above the prairie, a new figure, not one Mustang, but a whole herd of horses shining like lightning. They were led forward by a familiar silhouette Storm Mustang. The wind carried the words, "You're ready to be a conduit for freedom, Tommy, it's your time." And then Tommy realized it was his duty to protect freedom, to inspire those who have lost their faith, and to pass on the spirit of the prairie and the power of the wind. Since then, new legends have been told in rainy dust of the young man, of the wind and his magical herd, that bring hope to those who dare to dream.